Hi guys, Warlock here. This is going to be the last video on Path of Exile 2 before it releases tomorrow, December 6th on 8 p.m. my time. And in this video, I will talk about the quote-unquote tier list for all the Ascendancies. This is not a tier list for strength. This is purely my interest in each of the Ascendancies and basically my play order, unless the meta completely changes or there's going to be some nerfs before I moving on to a different Ascendancy. And yeah, that's pretty my interest, but maybe if you watch this video and you have no idea what you want to play yet, this can be an inspiring force for you. So first I'll talk about the main two, the ones I'm going to start with. So I'm going to start with the Stormweaver. In Path of Exile 1, I mostly play spellcasters, and Stormweaver is basically the classic classic spellcaster for this for PoE2 for now, and that's especially because I want to try Archmage, and I think if mana can become a problem, like mana sustain will become a problem, um, Node 8 with getting Arcane Surge, and then Force, like Node 9, Force of Will, with increasing that effect of Arcane Surge, granting so much more mana regen, will allow you to solve or kind of solve this. And otherwise, I want to play lightning spells. I want to probably play ball lightning, maybe test out some arc, the classic spells of PoE 1. I want to try them out in PoE 2, and I think Stormweaver can definitely help me with this. Otherwise, cast on crit, like with Tempest Scholar, might be very interesting if the cooldown is too low. But if you want to know more about what I'm planning to do with Stormweaver, you can check out my previous video where I just talk about all the generic things except for the main skill, because I have no idea what the main skill is going to be. Second is the Invoker. So that's the Monk, one of the new classes. And this is basically Cock. The reason I want to play this is Cock, aka Cast on Crit, for all your Path of Exile 1 players that know what I mean with Cast on Crit. So like Note 9 trigger elemental expression on melee critical hit. That's going to be interesting, but it's mostly Note 7. The Soul Springs Eternal with meta skills gain 35% more energy. Cast on crit is like that meta skill where you need to crit multiple times to trigger spells, and gaining more energy makes it so that the spells get triggered faster. Otherwise, I also want to try it out because Node 1 might be very interesting with gaining spirit, because the main way we can get spirit is from the axe. We can get 180 spirit, and then a scepter grants 100, right? But we're not going to use a scepter as a melee skill, so a melee class, especially with cast on crit, and quarterstaffs being really good. The reason why I looked at it immediately was quarterstaffs having a 10% crit chance. The other weapons I saw, like for the Titan, like mainly based for the Titan, like his mauls are 5% crit chance, while the quarterstaffs are 10%. So that's way higher. And if you can scale this crit chance, maybe it can get so high where you can crit almost every time, or literally every time, even though the crit chance is more probably going to be harder to hit than in Path of Exile 1, especially now Path of Exile 1, where it's actually quite easy. Next is the Titan. So that is for the warrior class, and basically the only reason I want to try this is because I think hulking form, which grants 50% increased effect of small passive skills, is probably insanely broken. And yeah, so that seems really good, and you can probably play this with anything, but slam skills is also something I wanted to try. So you can do 2 and 3, for example, or you can just go defense and go for 1 and 8, right? For more armor and more life, always nice. And then unfortunately, you have to take colossal capacity, which, yeah, 20 additional inventory slots does literally nothing. It's completely useless, but Note 5 is just insane, and I probably want to try something out with that, because that seems really good. Then for the B tier, or like the other ascendancies, I will look after I'm done with the first classes. Obviously, if I really like the Monk or the Stormreaver or the Titan, I'm just gonna stick with them for a while. But they're definitely something I want to try. The first one is Deadeye. So the reason I want to play Deadeye more than the Mercenary, especially the Witch Hunter, is the +1 projectiles, endless munitions. I think this is really good, especially for grenades, which is something I want to try out, and also for like normal crossbow. Like I think the witch hunter definitely needed something like this, because even though this grants a lot more damage, I think the +1 projectile is really interesting, and the tailwind grants more defense, and I think defense is also going to be really important. So maybe the tailwind works as well, especially if you can really use your dodge well, if you're a really skilled player, then the Deadeye is going to be very interesting. Also, I think I would like to play grenades more, in which case Deadeye is better with most likely point blank, and then the +1 projectile being really important for grenades. And but the Witch Hunter provides some cool things, so it's definitely not a set thing. This was basically for me which one is going to be better for grenades and crossbows. That one is the one I'm going to pick, and because it's going to be later in the early access when I'm going to actually try out these ascendancies, we will know from other players that tried them out in the beginning of the game. So next are basically two ascendancies where it's like we don't currently know how well it plays. If it turns out they play really well, as for the Monk of Chalula or the Time Wizard, right? Um, if they play really well, then I definitely want to try them out. Like the Chronomancer looks amazing, but maybe Time Freeze is just completely useless. I'll just let you take a look. So that's the Chronomancer. Like these things, it just the only thing this ascendancy does is grant you skills. Well, the main thing the ascendancy does, obviously you don't need to take them. There are four notables that don't grant you skills, but I don't know why you would do that. I think time freeze is definitely the thing you want to do if you try this out for the first. So if you're really interested in doing this, because it seems really good, time freeze as a like a complete ground control also against bosses. It will work against almost all the bosses, or most bosses at least, according to GGG. There are only a few that can't be time frozen. So ultimate command, but like if the cooldown is 50 seconds and you can get it down to like 20 maybe if you go full ham on cooldown reduction, that's not good enough for me. So I would not play it if it's something like that. But if you can get it down as much as possible, maybe it's just fun to play something like that. But I don't want to do it as a first character because it can like be very risky and you're kind of stuck in the Chronomancer because you cannot switch ascendancies. So that's why the Stormweaver is like the more easy choice. Next is the other monk, which is the Acolyte of Chayulia. So this one is more safe to start with, especially if the Waking Dream isn't good enough. Like Note 5 or 6 aren't good enough. That's no problem. You can just run Mana Leeches instant, Chayula's Gift if you're not going CI, and then I would probably not play with these, the darkness nodes, because removal spirit seems really bad. Because I think basically every character, except maybe from your minion skills where you need the spirit for all your minions, will play with a blasphemy setup. If you don't know, if you haven't seen my last video, the blasphemy setup is basically you play blasphemy, you play enfeeble and temporal change. You get whisper of doom if you're close enough, or maybe you get like there's probably gonna be the Druidry's ring, which gives you an additional curse, right? You probably want that, or Masters of Doom, and then yeah, you can just yeah maybe just go well not you're probably not going CI if you take Cheddar's Gift obviously, but you can go CI and then Whispers of Doom, and then you take uh, you take you take Enfeeble and you take uh, Temporal Change, so that's a lot of defensive, like you take less damage and they're very much slowed. You support them with increased slow effect, encumbrance, I think, and you heighten you increase the curse effect, and then you take curse effect on the tree, and then you take like maybe like 50% less damage from normal monsters, which is insane with Enfeeble. So I think almost every class wants to do that, and therefore removing all spirits seems really bad because you can't do that anymore. But otherwise, like this one is really safe. Like reality rending is like 28% more damage, I think, after calculating, like on average. But obviously you can get way more hits if you trigger all three of them, right? So you take 100, you gain 175% extra chaos damage. Really, not, that would be really nice. But otherwise, it's more safe. But I think this is really how good does it feel to have Into the Breach as your buff. If it feels really cool to collect the flames, and they're obviously great buffs, the flames are really good, but it really depends on how good it feels to actually collect these flames and be in the breach. Then for C, for C we have the Witch Hunter. So this is like kind of you can switch this with the Deadeye depending on how good they are with crossbow skills for me. And we have the other warrior. So the other warrior doesn't really speak to me, but there are definitely some things, especially the break armor ones, which can get really busted if you can really stack break armor. So it's definitely something that's interesting. And what does interest me kind of is Warcolor's Bellow, where you can explode corpses with your Warcry. That's something you can kind of build around. But the other nodes just don't speak to me. I'm definitely not going to place totems. That's something I really hated in Path of Exile 1 and don't think it's going to be much better in Path of Exile 2. And the block nodes are also not that great for me. So this just doesn't speak to me. The Titan just speaks me better as a melee skill, and especially the hulking form, 50% increased effect of small passive skills just is insane. So yeah, I'll definitely go for that if I want to play a melee skill. Next on the C, that's one of the witch uh, ascendancies. Let me get it. It's the Blood Mage. So the Blood Mage, like Sanguimancy is something that when it first was released, people thought it was horrible. Like you have to go like kind of like blood magic, well not fully blood magic, like it's half blood magic. So you take extra cost into your skills and you have to go it. This is the only one where you're forced to take this. Um, but it's obviously much better now that we know that life remnants allows you to basically double your maximum life. However, these are just things that are not that from like great for me. Gore Spike and Sunder the Flash, maybe Sunder the Flash is less needed because maybe you don't go full crit or you don't need the extra 5% most of the time it is for base crit for spells. But Gore Spike and Sunder the Flash you can definitely take on basically every build. But yeah, as I said, I think Stormweaver is a more safe way you can go and doesn't require the Sanguimancy problem where you need to think about your life regen. And Blood Mage might be better later on, but I like the safety of the Sanguinmancy, like the safety of the Stormweaver versus the Sanguimancy on League Start. So that's why I'm not going for this one. And then finally we have the F tiers. These are just class like Ascendancies I'm not interested in at all. The first is the Infernalist. The main reason I'm not interested is because the demon form bug has not been fixed. The demon form bug, if you don't know what it is that when you go into demon form, you lose your weapons. So your weapons don't prove any stats to you. If you had spirit, for example, or minions, they just die, they just disappear. Your spirit goes away if you had like a scepter. So that is a big no-no. And that was basically the main thing I was interested in for the Infernalist, except for maybe the Loyal Hellhound, which is just a great, right? Basically 20% reduced damage taken, kind of. But yeah, the demon form being bugged still just makes it a no for me, and I'll wait for it to get fixed and then maybe play it. And then the Gemlin Legionnaire is the last one. Well, second to last one. This one is just not interesting for me. It's a lot of very basic buffs. Uh, Very good for people who haven't played Path of Exile 1. It's really versatile. You can play basically everything with the Gemling Legionnaire. I think quality of all skills are going to be really good. The plus 10. The rest, eh. I'm not like, especially like the grants 3 additional skill slots. I don't like pressing that many buttons, so this is not something for me. Otherwise, yeah, this is just, it doesn't give that extra thing. It doesn't give that new thing. Like, this would basically just be playing as if we weren't playing Ascendancies, because they grant bonuses, but they're not all new, right? They don't offer something new to the game. They all bonuses which you can get, but they're better than what you can get on other Ascendancies. And then finally, the Pathfinder. I was never a never a Pathfinder player in PoE 1, and the Pathfinder is not much better. Uh, the concoction spells are definitely not something for me in PoE 1. They're basically gonna be the same for PoE 2 probably, and they might even be worse, honestly. The only thing that was interesting is contagious contamination, but I think you can just get this on a skill gem, so or a support gem. So that's probably what I want to do, right? And the round 5 passive skill point is pretty interesting, but that might just be weak to weak. Otherwise, it's just not that interesting for me, to be honest. I'm also, yeah, if I want to play a ranged character, a ranged attack character, I will obviously play the Deadeye, and just the concoction thing doesn't speak to me, and the extra flasks things, yeah, just not for me. But if you do like it, obviously go play it. And if you want to play one of the concoctions, want to try that one out, definitely play the Pathfinder, because that's the only way you can get them. All right, so those were all the ascendancies. I talked a little bit about my choices. Let me know what you want to play tomorrow, and yeah, what you think about my like my interest, and let me know yeah, what you're playing tomorrow. And I'll see you guys tomorrow on Path of Exile. Let's hope the queue doesn't take ages. Bye.